Hello, everyone. Welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 402. Andrew here. Hope you're all well. I have spoken many times in the past, ad nauseum, some might say, about my thoughts and feelings on video game trailers. And you might wonder, hey, do you have the same opinions on movie trailers? And broadly, yes. But my frequent issues with video game trailers, summing up, very often when you watch a video game trailer, you end up thinking to yourself, what's the game, though? And I find that to be a problem. If I watch your video game trailer and I genuinely have no idea what even the genre is, unless this is just a, announcement teaser, and you're like, hey, this sequel to this popular franchise it's a-coming in the next several years, right? The first trailer we saw of Metroid Prime 4 was little more than just a title treatment. But that's all it really was meant to be. It's just like, hey, guys, we're working on Metroid Prime 4. It'll be out in 8 years. Movies rarely ever have that problem. It's not often that you watch a movie trailer and you come away genuinely having no idea what the hell the movie even is, right? Usually even some of the most obtuse trailers, you can get at least a sense of genre. So for movies, I find that my critiques generally fall where film marketing fails to straddle the line between revealing too much and not revealing enough. There are movie trailers I've seen where I watch it and I'm like, okay, I'm not interested in seeing this movie because you're so obtuse, so vague that you're not hooking me. You're not giving me anything to chew thoughtfully. It's just, well, it's a movie. I don't know. I don't even know what the elevator pitch is. I don't know what the basic premise of your film is. There's people in it. I'm sure they talk to each other and do stuff. But you can also go too far in the other direction. I love musicals and I love animation, but when I saw the marketing for Sing, which came out many years ago, I didn't go see it. And it was a long time before I actually did bother to see it. In fact, I watched it earlier this year. And the reason I never bothered watching it is because I had seen the trailer. And the trailer made me feel I had already seen the entire movie. And having now seen the movie, yeah, I had already seen the entire movie. There's maybe 2 sequences, like in the entire movie, that are not in the trailer or can't at least be guessed at by the trailer. So, and it's a jukebox musical, which is a format that I have a bug up my rear end about. So I was pleased in the past week or so to see 2 movie trailers, 4 movies that were pretty good. They told enough about the movie to pique my interest, but didn't spoil the entire movie. So one of the film trailers I watched in the last week or so is for a film called Weapons. And according to the trailer, one night, a bunch of neighborhood children crawl out of bed, walk out the front door, and run off into the night, never to be seen from again. Seen from, heard from again. Never to be seen again or heard from again. And what's interesting is all of the children in this neighborhood who just vamoose at 3:31 one early morning are all the kids in one specific homeroom at one specific elementary school. So it's like, Oh my gosh. Did the homeroom teacher do something? Why is it every kid from this class? Where did they go? What happened to them? Because, there's a this takes place in modern day, so there's people have their doorbell cameras and stuff like that, and there's a bunch of video of these kids just ninja running off into the night. And that is about as much as the trailer shows. Really, the trailer's not giving you much other than the elevator pitch, the basic premise of the movie. But for me anyway, that premise is strong enough to hook me. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. Now this I want to see. And I doubt we saw much. There's some real quick cuts of seemingly supernatural shenanigans going on, but nothing distinct. So most of what we're looking at appears to be Act 1 stuff. And that's great. They showed me enough to pique my interest, but not so much to spoil the entire damn movie. So, clappity clap, clap, clap. Good job there. Another film trailer I saw recently was for the new Fear Street movie. Now, this is interesting because, just as a little background, they did a special event a few years back where they did 3 Fear Street movies. And they released them like 2 weeks apart or something like that. And the first one took place in like the 90s, and then the second one took place in the 70s. The first one was more of a 90s Scream kind of slasher film, and then 2 weeks later we got another Fear Street movie, which took place in the same universe, but covered a Friday the 13th style summer camp massacre in the 70s, and then 2 weeks later we got a third film which took place in like the 17th century and was a Salem witch trials kind of supernatural thriller. And they all tied together with a through line plot. In fact, the last third of that 17th century film goes back to the characters that we saw in the first film. So it circles back to that. Hey, Chicago. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really quite like the Fear Street trilogy of films. Well, they're doing another one. They're not doing, at least unless they're hiding something, they're not doing a trilogy. They're just doing a new Fear Street movie, which is out this summer, I think, called Prom Queen. And kids in a high school get stalked by someone who I guess knows what they did last summer, and probably all of them die except one. Now, slasher films can be a difficult thing to market, because sometimes you're not allowed to show the stuff that puts butts in seats. Not as much of a problem these days because the trailer, a lot of the marketing is on social media, not terrestrial airwaves. It's not on commercial breaks in television. That's almost not a thing anymore. So you can have a red band trailers all you want. You can show some gore and some cursing in your trailers, and no one cares. So it's a little bit easier to market horror slasher films today than it probably was some decades past. But the other issue you run into is you want to show the big thing about slashers is the kills, the set pieces where a hapless teen is being stalked by a masked killer with a machete or a slingshot, an evil slingshot. But the problem is, if you're not careful with how you edit your trailers, you know who's gonna live and who's gonna die. It's like, oh, great, you just spoiled a good number of the kills in the movie. And also, it's like, oh, well, I guess that person dies in that sequence, at that, a lot of slasher movie trailers, it's like, oh, well, I know who dies and how. or at least a good number of them, and that's always a shame. So, Fear Street Prom Queen does a nice job just being, hey, slasher movie. It's like, okay, I'm there. That's good. Just show me some fun. Show me you've got some fun set pieces for me to enjoy, and I'm there. And it does. But what I found particularly admirable about this particular trailer is it was clear to me that the editor was going out of their way to cut around who's getting their heads lopped off in each individual set piece. There's really only one sequence, which looks like it takes place at the prom itself, where some goober in a bluish baby powder blue tuxedo gets his head lopped off by an axe. I mean, maybe he slips on a banana and falls out of the way of the swing at the last moment, but looks like whoever this dipshit is, he gets his head lopped off at that point. But he may not be a major character, so might just be a random prom goer. You got one, that's fine. But the rest of them, it's clear that they're cutting around it. They're like showing the character from the back. And there's some other scenes where it looks like they intentionally darkened the frame so you can't see who it is. Unless you're, I mean, if you really, really care, you could go through it and take note of who's wearing what and piece that together. But I think on just a casual watch, it did a really nice job of saying, hey, here's a fun slasher movie. Here's a bunch of the fun stalker set pieces, but we're going to do you the favor of not revealing who's being stalked in this sequence. You know, it's pretty clear that, oh man, whoever's being stalked through that sequence gets an axe to the face. So, I mean, when you eventually see the movie and you're like, oh, I remember this sequence, whoever's in it gets an axe to the face. It's like, oh, they're in it. I guess they're getting an axe to the face. Yeah. So yeah, some really nice trailers in the last week or two. So, you know, good job, trailer people. I applaud thee. So, moving on, I saw an interview conducted by IGN, and the interviewer was interviewing the voice actor of Gemma, the Smithy from Monster Hunter Wilds. And I should have written it down, so now I'm just going to have to paraphrase everything. The interview was titled, it's a nearly 20-minute interview, and it's titled something along the lines of, why is Gemma so gosh darn popular? That's not it doesn't take them 17 or 18 minutes, however long the interview is. That's not the entire discussion. It doesn't take them nearly 20 minutes to theorize on one or maybe two large reasons why Gemma might be popular in Monster Hunter Wilds. It's a fairly broad-ranging discussion just on the actor and how she auditioned for the part and what what that whole process was like, and her approach to voicing the character and what she thought of the character. And then there's stuff about the fan reaction and why is this character so popular. Why indeed. So Chaos, hello. So I listened to the interview, and it's a fine interview. Don't get me wrong. Whoever the interviewer is, he's doing a fine job. Whoever the actor is who voices Gemma in Monster Hunter Wilds, she's doing a fine job answering questions. There's really nothing wrong with the interview. I just immediately saw this interview. We interview the voice actor for Gemma to try and figure out, at long last, we will solve this mystery that has plagued mankind nigh on for a couple months now. Why is Gemma so gosh darn popular? And I thought, 17 minutes? I don't need 17 minutes to tell you why Gemma's popular. She's pretty. Gemma is an attractive character with big boobs, exposed cleavage, and wearing a belly bearing crop top. That's why she's popular. She's hot. That's it. That's the reason. She's popular because she's sexy. That's the reason she's popular, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a condemnation of her character design or popularity. That's just why she's popular. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with an attractive thing being popular because it's attractive. Why I'm bringing this up, though, is because it's very clear, to me at least, because I'm psychic and I know the minds of other people I watch on pre-recorded videos. Ooh, scary. It was clear to me that both the interviewer and interviewee knew damned well why Gemma's so popular. But both of them, bless their Puritan little hearts, did everything they could to dance around the two big reasons Gemma is popular. And they spent a significant portion of the interview discussing this question. It's like, why is Gemma so popular? Well, I think it's because she's just a great character. She has just a wonderful, friendly personality. She's outgoing and she's passionate. She's an artiste and she cares deeply not only about her craft, but about her friends. And those two are tied together inextricably, because the better she is at her craft, the better help she can provide to the people she cares about most. And also, she just has a really interesting backstory, and her character arc is just pinnacle of cinema. That's all bullshit. Her cleavage is visible, and she's wearing a belly-bearing crop top, and she's sagging her shorts or her pants low enough that we can, take a wild guess at her shaving habits. That's why she's popular. Don't lie. It's not her personality. It's not her character arc. It's her boobs. Her boobs are why she's popular. And I can prove it. How, Andrew, you say, could you possibly prove that the fandom's wide appreciation for this character is so base? Well, dear viewers, Gemma's character design was revealed last summer. Do you know when Gemma's popularity started? Last summer. People have been going gaga for Gemma since she was revealed last summer. Since we found out what she looked like last summer. And people are like, oh my god, greatest character ever. And the fan art. Some of it's safe for work. 6-7 months later, after having extreme popularity for that 6 or 7 months, then the game came out. Jared says, I asked what backstory? I don't remember one. Yeah, we're getting to that. Then the game came out at the end of February. And then we learned what her personality was, and what kind of a person she is, and what her backstory is, and what her character arc is. So phenomenal as those things may be, we didn't know about them until the game came out a couple of months ago. The only thing we had to go off of Gemma was what she looked like for 6 or 7 months. And she was insanely popular for that 6 or 7 months, knowing only what she looked like. So, why is Gemma so popular? Because of how she looks. And again, that's not a bad thing. That's not a shameful thing. No one need feel bad about that. But golly, let's at least be honest about that. Now, does that mean that Gemma is a bad character or a shallow character? No, not at all. But her character arc, her personality, her backstory are not why she is so popular. Did her popularity just go up once the game came out? Arguably, yes, but I would argue that's because more people, were exposed to the game, right? I don't think her popularity, it's like, oh my god, she's attractive and a cool character? Popularity up. No. Nope. Yeah, Jared says, I don't play the game for character backstories. And you probably shouldn't, because there's not much. Like, as Jared pointed out, what backstory? I mean, unless you've played Monster Hunter 4, there really isn't much of one. I mean, it's implied, but I'm trying to think, I don't think it's really talked about in the main story. I think most of the backstory is a conversation you can have with Fabius if you talk to him at a certain point in the story, and you don't have to. So Gemma is a character. She's Little Miss Forge from Monster Hunter 4. The end. That's her entire backstory. Her backstory is, oh, she's this character from a previous game. That's about it. As far as her personality, she's nice. She's like all the rest of the characters. She's like Alma. She's nice. And I don't mean to sell them short. They're nice. They're perfectly pleasant people. They're competent at their jobs. They're fun to be around. They're nice. What's her character arc? I mean, she makes weapons? She doesn't really have one. She doesn't have much of a backstory. It was really like, I'm not shaming anyone. I'm merely poking fun at the interviewer and the interviewee, who were very clearly tap dancing around the true answer, which is boobs. Boobs is the answer. Gemma is popular because of boobs, which is a great reason to be popular. That is a perfectly valid and understandable reason to be popular. Boobs are great. But again, really, just let's be honest. Why is Gemma so popular? Because she's hot. Well, what about her character? Prior to the game, we knew nothing about her character other than she's the blacksmith. She's the smithy. That's it. Well, what about her backstory? People suspect that she's probably Little Miss Forge, and it turns out she is. And her character arc. I mean, what's your character's character arc? You kill bigger and badder monsters. That's the arc, really. You know? So, Jared says, I play for looks and cool world fight design. Yeah. And, beating up monsters and looking fabulous doing it. It's great. It's a fun game. And again, I want to stress that Gemma's not a bad character. She's fine. She's a perfectly pleasant person. She should probably wear an apron. I'm glad she wears a real thick oven mitt, and I'm glad she wears eyewear, but she should probably wear an apron too, because she is going to burn the shit out of the flesh of her chest and stomach. But hey, no one asked me. Yeah, so I just found this 20-minute interview. Why is Gemma so popular? Because because she's got a great personality. You know, no, guys, come on, because she's hot. That's why she's popular, right? I mean, it's a cherry on top of a sundae that already had some cherries. That she's also a nice, pleasant person, and yeah, she's cool. It's cool to see someone who's uh enthusiastic and passionate about their work. You know, when she meets Warner, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you invented the mechanism that allows us to do wyvern fire. I am so gonna pick your brain about that later." She's enthusiastic about her work. She cares about her friends. She's a nice person. She's nice. Is that why she's popular? No, no, it's not. Because she was popular before we knew she was nice. So I've cracked the code. Well, good on me. Oh, and by the way, Olivia's best girl. So, now that we've cracked the code on what two major aspects of her character design made her so popular among fans since last summer, let's talk anime. Uh, this is, the anime is a pretty niche hobby. Not a lot of people know about it, right? You kind of have to be in on it to, most of you probably aren't going to know what I'm talking about. So sometimes I like to watch not just anime but any film just kind of on a whim. Like sometimes I'll just be browsing around and go, what I have no idea what this is. Let's watch it and see what it is. That usually doesn't go well. It's usually crap, but sometimes you can be pleasantly surprised. Most things that are really worth watching, you've probably heard about if you care to keep your finger on that particular pulse, right? It's fairly rare that you know diamonds in the rough escape uh, broad attention, right? You'll probably have heard of it if it's really quite good. But not always. So sometimes I'll just browse around and go, well, there's something, no idea what it is. I'm gonna watch that. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's meh, and sometimes it's like, oh hey, this is actually really good. Why is no one talking about this? So today, on a complete whim, never heard of this show before. No one suggested it to me. I just saw it on the Crunchy Rolls, and I said, okay, let's try an episode of that. See what this is. It is called. I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced. Makeine. I don't know if that's a Japanese word or not. Too Many Losing Heroines. Um, the show poster is nothing to write home about. It's three schoolgirls standing on a high school rooftop, kind of waving at the camera and looking cute. They're like, "Yay!" Right? Or probably like this. It's a standard poster. It tells you absolutely nothing about the show except apparently about high school girls. Not like not like that's a dime a dozen with anime anyway. Um, and there's some dopey guy kind of standing behind them and apart from them, right? And I read the one sentence show description, and it was something like you know the show seemed to focus on the girls who who experience unrequited love, right? So the odd woman out of the love triangle, which is usually not who a narrative focuses on, right? And I said, okay, I'll give this one episode, see what the hell this is. Again, I'd not seen a trailer for it. I'd not seen any clips from it. No one recommended it to me. I had not even heard of this thing. So, let me just put in the chat what the name of the thing is, because I know I pronounced it wrong. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. That's what it's called. Makeine or something. Too Many Losing Heroines. So I watched the first episode, and I laughed my damn ass off because, holy biscuits, was that first episode really, really funny. What it seems to be is a deconstruction of high school romance anime tropes, and wow, is its comedic sensibilities on point, at least when it comes to my sense of humor. I've seen 3 episodes. I think it's a 12-episode show. So no idea exactly where it goes. I have some suspicions about where it might go, but from the first episode, my read on it is it's about a guy who kind of exists in a romance anime. He's like, but he's not the main character. He's just one of the students at the school where wacky anime shit happens. And it's just wacky shit, and he sees it and he's like, boy, that stuff's wacky. Nothing to do with me though. So it opens up with him in a cafe, and he's just sitting there drinking his soda, reading some manga, when a couple at a table across the on the other side of the cafe start raising their voices, and they're having a stupidly stereotypical anime spat. So the premise of these 2 characters is they are old childhood friends. And when they were like 5 years old, the boy gave her a ring made of flowers and said, "I'm going to marry you someday." And she grew up, I guess, expecting him to keep that promise. And she's loved him from afar the entire time. It's been really difficult because they, again, childhood friends, their families know each other. They've grown up together. They've been in every class together. But they've always been friends, so taking that next step into a romantic relationship is like, particularly when you're a kid, super damn scary, right? So he has another suitor, and we're at the point of this triangle relationship where she realizes that she's just the best friend, and she has to be the bigger person and let him go. And she says, I know you love Karen, the exchange student, even though she just got here a month ago. But she's moving back home to America now. And I know you care about her. And I know how she feels about you because it's the way I feel about you too. So you have to forget about me and you have to go to her. Don't let her get away. Baka. And he looks at her and she looks at him. And this other guy, the protagonist of the show, is sitting on the other side of the cafe, just like, they're really doing this here in public, really? And he, apologizes and grabs his car keys and runs out of the shop, nearly bowling over one of the wait staff. And she sits there quietly, slightly smiling to herself. A tear starts rolling down her cheek. You've seen this a million damn times. And so our hero's sitting in the booth and he's like, my God. Well, that's none of my business. Oh God, what is she doing? And she reaches across the table and grabs her childhood friend's soda, who he was drinking through a straw. And she slowly drags it over to her side, and he's like, oh God, no. Oh God, no, don't do that. That's desperate and pathetic. Don't do that. And she looks at the straw that he was using, that was wedged between his moist, delicious lips. And he's like, oh God, please don't do that. Why are you doing that in public? It's It's so desperate and pathetic. Don't do that. And, she opens wide and she wraps her face around that straw and she starts drinking from it and closes her eyes and reminisces on what might have been in some alternate timeline. And the other guy at the other end of the shop is like, oh my god, I cannot believe she's doing that. And then he looks up at her again and she's just staring at him, staring straight into his soul with her lips still wrapped around this straw, doing that stupid indirect kiss thing, which, as far as I'm aware, is like not a cultural thing here in America. I don't think that's even a thing. Um, but just staring at him wide eyed. And he's like, and the way this whole scene is directed, like the camera move, there's a camera move that's just kind of panning across the entire thing and settles on her just from across the way, just staring at him. He's like, oh god. It is so friggin' funny. And also there's a lot of really good direction here. The comedic sensibilities are perfectly on point, if you have my sense of humor again. Because every time it cuts to this stereotypical trope-filled little romantic uh, uh, scene, the colors become more saturated, the animation gets a little bit more complex, but particularly with like hair strands and how much detail is put in the eyes. And it gets this, swelling music with the violins, and every time it cuts back to the our protagonist who's sitting on the other side, the soundtrack just completely drops out, the colors desaturate back to just regular non-heightened romantic anime tones. And that contrast never, for me anyway, never failed to be super friggin' funny. um let's see, Jared says it came out a few seasons ago. A few of the anime channels I know did say positive things about it. Yeah, yeah, that one escaped my attention. Well, yeah, that one I don't think, because the title is Too Many Losing Heroines. Yeah, I hadn't even heard that title. But yeah, there's so it goes on from there, right? She's the perpetual childhood friend. You have the sports nut who is got a crush on the academically gifted guy who has his eyes set on the other girl that he goes to cram school with, you know. But and she feels like she's just not in his league, because she's a jock, right? And he's a smart person, but she crushes on him anyway. So you've got that whole trope. The homeroom teacher is this complete ditz who may be completely smashed at all times and has no idea which students are in her class. Um, there's the oversexed school nurse who is friends with the teacher, uh, with the homeroom teacher, and is also apparently spying on all of the students in their relationships. Like, I don't know if she wants to play matchmaker, if she just gets off on it. Um, there's just all of the romantic, or a good chunk of the common romantic tropes that you see in these uh, uh, romance animes are present and accounted for, and deliciously deconstructed in a way that I find phenomenally funny. Um, so I was pleasantly surprised by episode one. Episodes two and three were not as strong for me, but still entertaining, and but so like, a little bit of a step down. I have a feeling the show might just be kind of going in a direction, less be a thorough deconstruction of the genre and its tropes, and more kind of, hey, let's pay attention to the characters that don't often get a chance to shine in these shows, right? I think that may be where this is going, which, okay, if it's done well, it's done well. It's fine. You know, tropes are not necessarily a bad thing. Tropes are tropes for a reason, and that reason is very often because it works. That said, even if it does work, if you see the same thing over and over and over, it can get a little dull. So, so yeah, too many losing heroines. Super strong start. Um, yeah, it made me genuinely laugh out loud. At least two or three times during the first episode. So yeah, I really quite enjoyed it. So if you're wondering what to check out, hey, give the first episode a try. Maybe it'll click for you. Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm about done with now. I just started Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, which I'll talk about a little bit here in a moment. I'm not like permanently filing it away on my shelf. There's a Capcom collaboration event coming up at the end of the month, so you know I'll pull it back out for that, or for the various title updates. Legia Chris is going to be added to the next title update this summer. There'll be a new festival. Occasionally there will be event quests that reward new armor pieces and stuff like that. And you know how I love to play dress up. Actually, maybe you don't, because I wear the same damn thing all the time. But in video games, I like to play dress up. So, Brian sent me. Apparently, there are original chibi style costumes for at least Estelle and Joshua in the upcoming Trails in the Sky remake. So that's really adorable. I think that's great. What was I talking about? One of the newer things added to Monster Hunter Wilds with the recent title update, which added the Gathering Hub. Every once in a while at night, the Diva, which is some Wavarian songstress in a flowing white gown that I'm afraid she's going to catch fire because she's standing near torches because they don't have electric lights. Anyway, you are treated to a show. It's like a dinner theater. You sit down, you have your munchies, and you listen to the divas sing a song, and it's cool, unless you hate music or fun, or if you're like, yeah, that's nice and everything, but I'm just gonna go, kick the crap out of Mitsune if you don't mind, right? So I was my first thought when I saw the diva and when I listened to her song, and I thought it was great. My first thought is, you know what? Gico Sop would knock this shit out of the park. If you don't know who that is, several months ago I did a video highlighting some YouTube musicians that I'd come across in the last year that I really quite liked, and Gico was one of them. She is a cover artist who sings in operatic style and covers a lot of anime songs and video game tunes and even songs that you've heard in movies. Like, the diva dance that the tentacle-haired woman in Fifth Element does. She's covered that. So she's really fun, a lot of fun to listen to. I listened to the diva or the diva's song, and I'm like, Gico, knock it out of the park. And I was thinking, I don't think she needs to tell me that. I don't think she needs me to tell her that, right? I don't want to, fill her inbox with, you should do this, you should do this. I bet she gets requests all the time. She can do whatever she wants. So I checked out her video page because Lord knows YouTube does not actually notify me of any of the stuff that I watch. And I was tickled to see that her next video, which is premiering in like 8 hours or so, is the Diva Song from Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm like, yeah, called it, nailed it. So really looking forward to that. But, well, I mean, I actually talked to her about it. I told her, I said, hey, I never mentioned this publicly, so you'll just have to take my word for it. But I knew you'd do this one. Looking forward to seeing it. And she says, yeah, but in your time zone, it doesn't premiere until the wee small hours of the morning. So, don't die staying up too late. Um, and that's true. My time, I think it premieres at like 4 a.m. Am I going to stay up to what? No, no. But I'll definitely check it out tomorrow morning before the stream. Uh, so that's fun. So not only did I kind of will a collaboration, two collaborations between her and Raph Scrapped into existence, and yes, it was all me. I am self-centered enough to say that. But I also willed a new cover into existence. Maybe I should start willing world peace or something like that, or something that would be a lot more beneficial than, hey, there's now cool new songs on the internet. Um, so Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I started playing that this afternoon. And so far, so I'm only like 2 hours or so into it. Uh, I bet I could review it very quickly. There's a kitty in it. Do you need any more details than that? I think not. But we've got another 10 or 12 minutes of the podcast, so I guess I can elaborate further. Um, the kitty is a tiger cub. Goro Majima washes up on the beach of an island some ways off of the Hawaiian Islands and has amnesia. But he's picked up by he's rescued, and, kid brings him a thermos full of water, by a young boy named Noah, and who sounds like he's voiced by a woman, but that happens a lot of time in voice acting where a young male will be voiced by an adult woman, so you don't have to cast a 12-year-old, because not a lot of them can act well, and there's a lot of specific, really cumbersome rules that are there for the protection of the children when it comes to, working with kids, right? You can't do a 12-hour session with a kid, right? As an extreme example, which is probably not even accurate. Um, but that's neither here nor there. So he's rescued by young Noah and what appears to be a tiger cub. And Goro looks at this tiger cub, and Goro can't remember his name is Goro, so the same name doesn't matter. But Noah says, this is Goro. And he goes, that's a tiger. He goes, no, it's a cat. It's just a regular cat. And it's like, okay. And it's a running gag so far in the game where every new character, they're like, that's a tiger cub. He goes, no, that's just a cat. And everyone's just like, all right. Everyone's like, oh, if you say so, man. But little Goro the cat is, or the tiger cub, or just a cat, is adorable, and follows you around and just looks up at you expectantly all the time. So far as I can tell, you can't pet the cat yet, but you can feed the cat, and you get there's a relationship bar that fills up, so maybe you can pet the cat at some point. And you can, the cat will occasionally scrounge up some stuff for you, and it'll follow you around, and it'll be holding a little collectible in its mouth, and you're like, oh, is that for me? And it's like a grasshopper or something. It's adorable. And the cat actually helps you in fights. It like fights with you, which is pretty great. Noah's useless. Noah does not help in a fight, but little Goro does. And at one point, you drive some pirates off the island, and one of the proprietors of a local shop is like, "Oh, Mr. Amnesia, thanks for driving off the pirates. I should do something really nice for you. Now, what can I do for you?" And it's a two-shot, and this chicken just kind of walks into frame. And as she's saying, now, what could I do for you? What could I give you? And the camera is slowly pushing in at this chicken. And I just found the framing really funny. And so she says, aha, a chicken. And she takes out a knife and she walks over to this chicken, and it's framed from behind her. The shot is looking straight at the chicken through her legs from behind as she's holding a big butcher knife next to her, and the chicken's looking up at her. And the subtitles, Bach? Question mark. And the funniest damn thing. And of course, Goro is just like, oh, no, can I just have the chicken? And Noah says something like, he's like, really? Or he says, yeah, I made eye contact with it, and there was a connection, and I just can't. So now we have a pet chicken, and we have a pet, not a tiger, and it's pretty great. And you can feed the chicken too. Can't pet it, at least not yet. Is there more to this game than cute animals? Yes. I mean, I guess there doesn't need to be, but so far, yes. The combat is surprisingly easy, even for the first 2 hours of the game. I mean, you get thrown against really large groups of people, like, like a dozen, maybe 15 people at one point, and I just tore through them in like 10 or 15 seconds. So I don't know if I should adjust the difficulty up, or if I should stop upgrading my character, or if it's like it's the first 2 hours, give it a minute. But yeah, the fighting is flashy and fun, a little too easy this early in the game, but yeah, that's all right. Characters are fun. It's great to have Goro as a protagonist. He's always a hoot. Haven't done any of the ship. I haven't gotten off the island yet. I am captain of my own pirate ship, so that's pretty cool. We haven't gone anywhere yet. But there's a couple things to do on the island. There's you can gather supplies, or pick crap up off the ground, and one of the things I think I criticized Infinite Wealth of, the game that came out last year, the Hawaii-based game that came out last year, was the collectibles that you pick up off the ground, the little sparkly bits that are on the ground, and the briefcases. There were just too many of them. I'm one. If you've seen my streams, you know I'm inclined to pick up anything that's not nailed down. A lot of times when I go into a new room, I'll start rubbing up against the walls to see if there's anything that's interactable. So if I see glowy bits all over the place, I am compelled to pick up every single one of them. And I don't think the game designers really expect or want you to do that. It just wants to make sure that wherever you go, you can always pick up some stuff to, fill your pockets with some extra supplies. You don't have to go too far. They don't want you running endlessly up and down the beach trying to spawn random pickups to stuff in your pocket. Which is noble, but I think they went a bit too far in the fact that I'm spending a lot of time picking up everything off the ground, and I've been playing the game for 2 hours, but I already have like 30 potato seeds. So I don't think I'll ever run out of seeds for growing potatoes. Why do you want to grow potatoes? Well, there's a cooking mini game where you can grow plant. You pick up seeds and stuff off the ground, and then you plant them, and then you harvest them, and then you can use the ingredients to cook various dishes, which will provide you with health and attack buffs when you're fighting. But man, there's just too much crap littering the ground. There's even more crap littering the ground on Rich Island in this game than there was in Honolulu in the last game. And the ground was littered with shit in Infinite Wealth. So that they tuned the dial, and they turned it the wrong way, in my humble yet perfect and inerrant opinion. So, but off to a good start. I'm quite enjoying it. Yay, Yakuza. Yakuza like a pirate. What did I get on my cuff? Oh, well, I'm not going anywhere tonight. Don't have to impress anybody. So that's it for tonight. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed my musings, and I certainly hope you'll join me tomorrow for the Sunday stream, because we will be starting in on Trails of Cold Steel Part 2. We will start by the first 15-20 minutes are going to look at the predictions that I made during the course of Cold Steel 1 and see how well I did, and then we will start in on Cold Steel 2. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out the video I did this week talking about my thoughts regarding how successful the Trails series was at transitioning into full 3D. That video actually did pretty well by the standards of my channel. It seemed to be really well received. So if you have a chance, it's called How Did Trails of Cold Steel Handle the Transition to 3D? It's only about 15 minutes long, so if you're curious on my thoughts, give it a watch. And then hopefully you'll join me tomorrow, Sunday at noon, for some Cold Steel 2 fun. Unless Cold Steel 2 is the black sheep of the series and sucks waffles. And it's just a miserable game from front to back. But what are the odds of that happening? So... Oh, and also thanks to Jared, we will be, thanks to a save provided by Jared, we'll be playing New Game Plus, because from what I understand, there are some bosses and books that are only obtainable on a New Game Plus playthrough. So that's what we will be playing. All right, so thank you, Jared, for the save. And that is it from me. So thanks everyone for hanging out. Hope you have a lovely rest of your evening, and hope to see you tomorrow for some Cold Steel fun. Till then, folks, take care. Bye-bye.